So the first thing and foremost, we need to create our VPC. And if you see here, you'll have this little button where it says create VPC. If you do not see this button, then you can click on your VPC dashboard, and this should bring you to this page. If you are under probably VPCs or subnets or something else, you can just click VPC dashboard and it should bring you right here. Okay? So far, everybody following along?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. And then
Yes.
you can just click on create VPC. Okay? To make it easy for me to toggle between this tab and this tab, I'm gonna have this on a completely different browser, and then I'll just toggle between them like that. Okay? So the first thing is, once we have this ready, we have to create our VPC, and we just need to give it a name, lab, and then do few configurations. Okay, so we're gonna click here where it says VPC and more. Okay, do not click on VPC only. Click on VPC and more because we need few more
Okay.
things.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So, right where we are right now, I'm not showing the same as you are showing.
You don't see this page? Okay. All right. So I'm gonna go ahead, cancel this, and then restart again. Okay.
Okay.
So once you guys click on VPC dashboard.
I think
Can you
I
guys-
got it. Yeah.
Okay. Now once you click on VPC dashboard, you should be able to see this little tab here, create VPC.
Yes.
In the old setup, it was VPC wizard in the old AWS console, but here it says just create VPC. And then once you click on that, you should have the first two options, the VPC only or VPC and more. We need VPC and more because we will be creating internet gateways, NAT gateways, and a few other stuff. So we need VPC and more. Okay?
Okay.
Everybody have this one highlighted, selected?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Next thing we need to do is generate the name tag for everything. So it's gonna be auto generated everything. If I do not select this, it's gonna be I have to give the name to everything. I'm gonna leave it at auto generate, but I'm also gonna add the one word to it, which is lab. So everything is gonna have the prefix lab, and then everything else is gonna be auto generated. Okay.
Okay. Mine is already showing some subnets and route created because I was doing it before. How do I delete
Yeah.
all this so I am on the same page with you?
No, that's fine. It should have few subnets and everything created for you, but just follow along here, and we're gonna change the settings right here on the left hand side, and we're gonna see everything. We're gonna change everything right here. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So first thing we're gonna do is we go to the settings, and then you have VPC and more. First, click on that one,
Mm-hmm.
and then just say auto generate and make it lab.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then say IPv no IPv6. Just leave it at IPv4. And then you could say in 1AZ, they need us to have it in 1AZ. So click 1. And then number of public subnets, keep it at 1. Private subnets, keep it at 1. Uh, and then we can expand. All right. So I'm gonna go ahead and refresh this page. 1 second.
I don't have the option to have public subnet as one. It's either 0 or 2 on mine.
Hmm.
Yeah, mine's only giving me
Okay.
the option of 0 and 2.
Yeah. So keep, if you change your availability zone to 1, it should change to 1. Because if you
Okay.
have your availability zone as 2, then it will show you 2. Because if we remember from last class, from the theory, we said a VPC is in a region, but a subnet is in one AZ. You guys
Yeah.
remember?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you keep your AZs as 1, then you could have the choice of 1 or 2. You see the 1 now?
Yes.
Okay. Just gonna give the name lab here. Okay, so now keep this as 1. Keep the private also as 1. And then you'll have your NAT gateways. Make it in one AZ. Click on one AZ, and your endpoints, keep it as none. So far, everybody did this.
Yes.
Okay. Now, before you click, do not click create VPC yet. Okay. You should see here the flow chart of what we're going to be creating. You should see here the flow chart. It shows you we have a VPC. We gave it the name lab. Everything else is going to be auto generated. The name is going to be auto generated. And you should see the prefix of lab, and then you'll see subnet public US East 1A, and then US East 1A, and then you'll have your route tables created for you as well. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So this is the flow chart.
Can you scroll over to the right? Check the network connection.
I'm sorry?
Did you scroll over to the right?
Yes, and you can see also your networks connections. Here's your internet gateway. But if you scroll back here, I need you guys to expand this one first before we move forward, where it says customize subnets, CIDR blocks. Expand this one.
You wanna
Okay.
click? You wanna click after?
I'm sorry?
You wanna click us, or what do you wanna do? What do you wanna us do?
No, you see, this was minimized before, but I want you guys to expand this where it says you customize your subnet CIDR blocks.
Okay, got you.
Okay. Now, before we do any changes here, if you scroll up, we see that the CIDR block for our VPC is 10.0.0.0/16, which makes it the first 16 bits fixed. Okay. So if you guys remember from last class, we said this is the VPC CIDR block. Okay. For the whole VPC, this is our CIDR block for the whole VPC. Now we could divide that up for each subnet, right? And to divide it up for each subnet, we're gonna come down here, and we're gonna give this one another number. And here we can give it /24, and the other one also /24. So I'm gonna go ahead and give this one /24, and do the same thing with this one, but change the second last 8 bits and make it into 1. Okay. All right. So you see here on our VPC, the whole VPC, we have a CIDR block of /16, right? And if we remember from last class, /16 means the first 16 bits is fixed, and then we have the rest 16 bits available to us. Okay. So now once we have this available to us, what we can do is we can divide that up for each subnet that we're going to create. Okay? So we're going to say our subnet, our first subnet is going to be the same thing, but we're going to have the first 24 bits fixed. Okay? So when we say the first 24 bits are fixed, that gives us what remaining? The last 8 bits only remaining for us.
Yeah.
Okay? And that's what we have remaining for us. And that's where we have only 256 IPs. You see here it says 256 IPs? But we remember also only the
Yeah.
256. 5 is reserved by AWS, and we get only 251 in each subnet. Okay? And then here, this one, we can change the last number 1. If you guys see, we can change the number 1. The reason we can change this number 1 right here, and we make this into 1, you see here, we made it 10.0.1.0. The reason we could change 1 is because if we scroll up, the whole VPC is only the first 16 bits are fixed. So the third 8 bits, we get to change it.
So in the real world, must it be changed only to 1, or it could be changed to any number?
It could change to any number.
Okay.
So I'm gonna scroll all the way to the top.
Yeah.
Right here, I have selected VPC and more. Okay.
Mhm.
So if I click only VPC only, then it's gonna create only the VPC for me. It's not gonna create anything else for me. So I needed to create everything else for me with the NAT gateway and internet gateway and stuff. So I'm gonna click on VPC and more. Okay.
Okay.
So here's what. But if I choose VPC only, then it's gonna give me only the VPC, and then I have to create my own internet gateway, NAT gateway, and those stuff. And then I can scroll down here, and I have here it says name. I can now the name is, you can see here it says auto generated. I click on that one. Now everything will be filled for me except for the prefix. I can give it a prefix here, a prefix or some name. So I can make it here bunnies, and then it's gonna see bunnies VPC, bunnies subnet something, bunnies subnet private, whatever, right?
It's optional. Any name
You can give any name, but for your company name tomorrow is gonna be depending on what's the VPC they use. This is our management VPC. This is our development VPC. So you're gonna give it a name tomorrow in the work situation, whatever the project is. But here, I'm just gonna make it lab, or you can give it any name, bunnies, whatever, right? And then the rest is going to be auto generated for you. So you're going to see the rest of the stuff, the name is going to be auto generated for you. And then you'll have your CIDR block. This CIDR block is for the size of your VPC. This is for the whole VPC CIDR block. The range of IP addresses that you can use in your VPC. And because we have here /16, if you guys remember from the theory class, /16 means
2 to
only
6.
16 bits are fixed. And the other 16 bits that are remaining is open to us, and we can manipulate it as we want. And we get to have them. That's the range, over 65,000. And then here, if you see, I said I don't need a IPv6. I don't need a IPv6 CIDR block. If I choose this, this is gonna give me a Amazon provided CIDR block for IPv6. We don't want IPv6 in this lab. And then we're gonna move forward. Here it says tenancy, and this is by default. You can get to change this. This is outside the scope of the class, but this, if you say dedicated, it will give you a dedicated hardware for yourself. Nobody gets to share that hardware, and that's for some business cases, you need a dedicated hardware. and then it will give you a dedicated hardware in the Amazon data center. So they will dedicate one hardware for you specifically. But we just leave it at default for now. And then we have AZs, availability zones. We said from last class, if you guys remember, a VPC is in one region, and one region has many AZs, right? And we get to now deploy this in one AZ for now. So your subnets, each subnet will be in one AZ, but your VPC is in one region. Okay, so you remember from maybe it was module 2 or 3, I don't remember, we were talking about the AWS global infrastructure. We have regions, and each region we have multiple availability zones or AZs. Your VPC will be in one region, and each region has multiple AZs, and you get to deploy your subnets in one AZ. Your subnet cannot span multiple AZs. It's in one AZ, but your VPC spans one region, which is across multiple AZs. And then here it says choose the number of AZs. So we kept it at 1. So we chose to have our subnets in only one AZ. Okay? And then you could expand this and choose which AZ. If you can see here, it says US East 1A. 1A. I can change that to be in 1B, and then this will be 1B. I can launch it in 1B, or I can launch it in 1C. But for default, leave it as the default for now, which is 1A. Okay? You get to customize your AZs from here. Now, if we scroll down a little bit, the next section is what are the number of the public subnets we need? I have 1. And I have 1 here. And the reason is, why do I have 1 here, public subnets? Because I have only 1 AZ. Okay? And then here is where you get to customize your CIDR blocks. And we said how we customize our CIDR blocks. And you guys remember this? We wanted to have, this is the range we wanted to have. So we could have it /20. So if I do 20, then that's how many IPs I will be having, 4,000 something in this subnet. But for this case, I just need it to be a little smaller, and I need it to be 256 only. Okay? And then you have your NAT gateways. I want my NAT gateway to be in one AZ. And your VPC endpoints, this is none. But once we move forward and we see what is S3 gateway and stuff, we will see how to connect our endpoints to this. But we don't want anything for now. And you guys remember we had the different connections we could do to the VPCs. Now, and then you have your DNS options here, enable, leave that as the default. And then you have additional tags, but don't worry about this for this class. Then you could go ahead and create your VPC. So now you could go ahead, everybody, and say, create your VPC. And you could see it's creating VPC, enable DNS, hostname DNS resolution, verifying VPC creation, create subnet, create another subnet, create internet gateway, attach internet gateway to VPC, create route table, create another route table, associate route table, and then allocate elastic IP and create NAT gateway. Now it's waiting for the NAT gateway to activate. And then it's going to create route table, create another route table, associate route table. Yeah, so it's going to take a few minutes for this. All right, so now mine is completely ready to go. So now you could click here and say view VPC, the one we created. And then this is our CIDR block for our whole VPC, the one we chose. We said we don't want IPv6. And then we have our route table. And then network ACL, we can click on this. And then 2 subnets. You could see allow all traffic from all places. but let's take it one step at a time. Click here, filter by VPC. Click on this filter by VPC and then click lab VPC. You see the one we created, lab VPC? That's the one we created. So click on that one. Now it should filter everything according to this only. This is the only ones we're gonna see. Okay? So now so can you expand this where it says filter VPC? Do you see lab VPC? One that says lab VPC? Yeah, click on that one.
Okay.
Because if I don't click on that one and if I click on subnets, it's gonna show me all the subnets, and these subnets are because part of the other VPCs that are auto generated by Amazon. So you have your work VPC and another VPC. These are the ones that is auto generated by Amazon. Okay. And this is, if you can see, this is the default VPC that Amazon creates. But we don't want to worry about this for now. Leave it. Don't worry about this. We just are concerned with the one we created, okay?